him who's been financially supporting him the last 18 months.
And who's been financially supporting you the last 18 months?
Please.
Well,
Mr. Carter?
She sent me money. She has sent me money.
She's the judge who gives rules on the law and life. She's intense with common sense. She's Judge Lynn Toller on Divorce Court, where real couples deal with real life. Yesterday, Dana saw her husband Darryl for the first time in 2 years. But Darryl claims he fled her clutches because Dana was holding him a prisoner of love against his will.
Have you ever seen that movie, Misery?
Yeah,
Yes.
Kathy Bates.
With Kathy Bates,
and
yes,
James Caan, he was a writer.
Yes.
And she held him hostage.
Well, that was pretty much my life. Only thing is, I didn't get my legs broke. We pulled up to the beach. When I got there, I was like, okay, somebody's getting married today. But I didn't know that somebody was me.
And Darryl told Judge Lynn that Dana tried to exorcise his demons.
She takes me and she pins me up against the wall like this, right?
True.
And then her hand, then her other hand is up under my head.
No, that is not true.
Wait, then her other hand is up.
Hang on,
Then
hang
her
on.
other hand is up under my neck like this, so my feet are 6 inches off the ground.
No.
She has this big Bible, and she's hitting me in the head with like, bang, come out of him, Satan.
And today, the courtroom drama continues.
I was taking 15 pills a day.
It wasn't me, it was the doctors. You termed it as an escape, and I find that interesting.
Because I was in prison, Your Honor. I was way out in the country part of Georgia. I was in prison.
And culminates with the revelation that though Darryl left her, Dana still is paying his bills.
She has sent me money. But
if you want to be free of someone, don't cash their checks.
Today, in the conclusion of this two-part session of Divorce Court, we now join Judge Lynn as she questions Dana about hitting Darryl with a Bible.
Was there any time where you restrained Mr. Carter and were abusive with the Bible?
Well, not abusive, and I never had a Bible involved, but I would never lie to you.
That wasn't the Bible you were hitting me in the head with?
No, Darryl. Anyway.
Were you hitting in the head with something?
No, what happened was my husband got very angry. His health had went down, and he would be so sweet. And then the next minute, he would be so mean. Years ago when I was dating, I had a fella that hit me. And I said that will never happen again.
Right.
So my husband made a physical gesture and a verbal gesture toward me, and I pushed him, because he's a little fella. But I want...
It's not funny.
I mean, he is a fine little fella.
It's not funny.
But I did push him up against the door, probably knocked sense into him, because I wanted him to know, you'll never come up to me like that again. Ain't no man gonna come up to me
Over
like
some
that.
cookies?
No, not over cookies. Not over cookies.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was.
What struck me about this information that you two people exchanged was the extent to which you both believed in God and found that as the guiding principle, not only in your life, but in your marriage. And so far, what I've heard here is not out, it's unusual.
Yes,
it's confusing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
May I please present this to you?
Please. What is it?
This is my supportive evidence and documentation that, as my husband said, we found out 3 months after our marriage that he was in kidney failure.
Indeed.
Now he happens to be in stage 5. But at that time, please let me do that. I went from being a bride to being a caretaker. I never really was a bride. And what I did was, I told his family, and they didn't believe me. I sent them medical documentation, but he warned me though. He said, don't tell him that, don't tell him that. Wait, don't tell him nothing. I took him through the University Hospital, one of the best, and that letter says that. It took me 18 months to get him on the Georgia kidney transplant list and the national kidney transplant list. And then after that, his insurance, I got them to say, we'll pay $150,000, just need a donor. That's when his family, not all of them, but some of them started interfering. Can we have them come look at our doctors in California? No, I did all the homework. We need you, your grandchildren need you more, or whoever, your family needs you more than her family does. Then it became that stuff. They didn't believe me, then they did, then they wanted to snatch him from me, and then finally, when he asked about a year later, can I go visit? He's taking 14 medications a day.
Can I go visit? He's got to ask you if he can go see his family?
The reason why he said that, Okay, but the reason why, he was taking 14 prescription pills a day. He was on the donor list. He was not supposed to leave over 2 hours in case somebody died and gave him a kidney.
Yeah,
Mr. Carter, what is your vision of how she was involved in your relationship with your own family?
Oh, she wouldn't let me talk to them. I couldn't have a telephone.
That's not true, Your Honor.
I could not. Dana, please.
Stop. Mr. Carter, go ahead.
I could not have one telephone call from any, not even my mom. And then when she would get through with me, she would be on the other telephone listening. Now, I had seen her do things when we lived with the other people, how she would be in on their telephone. And so I'm noticing, I'm going like, if she would do that to somebody as her friend, what would she do to me?
Yeah, I listened. I did.
You did what?
I did listen. I agree. Wasn't right, but listen, there was a lot of insecurities, a lot of lying going on me, and I listened a few times. Yes, ma'am, I did. And I apologize now, but I did do it at that time. But we had one cell phone that we shared, Judge. My husband would get depressed because of his condition, and he'd say, don't answer the phone. He didn't want to talk to nobody.
I've never done that.
He could have listened to the messages.
Wait, can I say something?
Maybe you did.
Dan, please let me say something.
I was the witch.
Okay.
He did not want to talk to
He
nobody.
didn't want to talk about it, so you were standing in between and
right. So I'm the witch.
running interference for him. Mr. Carter, what is your response?
When I had met Dana, I had already been, and I was in stage 4 of
3.
kidney.
You were in stage 3 at the time, honey.
Dana had me heavily, I was taking 15 pills a day.
It wasn't me, it was the doctors. He said Dana had. Did you notice that, Judge?
When divorce court continues, Darryl plots his great escape.
How'd you get out?
When I was finally able to talk to one of my sisters, kept calling, I kept trying to tell them. But every time they would call, she would be on the phone.
Is your spouse ready to walk out the door, but you want to try and save your marriage? Call toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or visit our website at divorcecourt.com or become a fan at facebook.com/divorcecourt.
Divorce Court is back with the case of Dana Harris, who wants her husband to come back to Georgia to be with her. But has Darryl made up his mind where he wants to be?
That interference from those folk that he's referring to has been interference from day one.
So
and
he
it's
left
for cease and desist right now. I'm not going to tolerate it.
You say you escaped from her at some point. What necessitated an escape?
Because I was unhappy in my living situation, and I wanted my life back that I had for.
So why did you have to? You termed it as an escape, and I find that interesting.
Because I was in prison, Your Honor. I was way out in the country part of Georgia. I was in prison. I couldn't go anywhere unless you took me.
Okay, you know what the prison was?
Let him finish. Okay. Go ahead.
I was in prison, regardless of the house or whatever, Dana. You still had me in prison. I was your prisoner, and I was up under your rule, and I just couldn't live like that. I couldn't.
So how'd you get out?
When I was finally able to talk to one of my sisters, kept calling. I kept trying to tell them, but every time they would call, she would be on the phone. And so finally, I was able to talk a little pig Latin to my baby sister, and she.
You were able to communicate to your baby sister that you were uncomfortable in your circumstances.
Yes,
did somebody come and get you?
She said, Darryl, are you trying to tell me something? I'm like, yes, I'm trying to tell you something. I've been trying to tell you guys for the last 2 years. I need to get out of here, please.
Okay.
And so wait, let me finish.
How did you get out?
So she had one of my friends from Hawaii, okay, that calls me, but she intercepted the telephone call. You know you did. Intercepted the telephone call and started talking to him. And he says, you know, we're finna have a baby and we'll give you this baby. Nobody's gonna just give nobody no baby. I knew they weren't gonna give us that baby.
Did you have someone on the phone and say that they were gonna give you a baby?
They were gonna give it up for adoption. They knew that Auntie Dana never had children, and I love children. And so Darryl and I talked about it, and he said that it was okay that we would adopt the baby. But again, some of the family members interfered, and Darryl's not telling.
You got a man on the kidney list. You suffered an economic collapse.
Yeah.
You just had gastric bypass, forgetting gastric bypass. Why in the world would you want a baby?
Well, you're right. The timing wasn't right, but my heart, I love children, and I thought I would never have the opportunity. So Darryl said okay, but see, they did this under false pretense, Judge, with leaving him, because he asked me, could he go? And I said, you have to be back in 10 days because you'll be out of your medication. That's his life.
Right.
And I reconfirmed with the airlines, there was a one-way ticket. That's when I knew something was wrong. And see, that interference from those folk that he's referring to has been interference from day one.
So
and
he left
for cease and desist right now. I'm not going to tolerate it.
He left for 10 days and never came back for 2 years. You just saw him when he came in here.
And it just broke my heart.
So obviously he got his medicine. Ms. Harris.
And they took me off of over half the medication that I was on.
Ms. Harris, I will say this to you. I will say this to you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think Mr. Carter's more responsible for his behavior than he wants to admit to. Having said that,
thank you.
I think you were cloistering him. I think you were kind of separating from him circumstances. I think you were, people can do that very often, especially if you have somebody who's sick.
Yeah.
It puts him in a position of not having the control that he needs to be comfortable.
Okay.
Would you say that may have been in the guise of you being comfortable and taking care of him?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you have done that?
Yes, ma'am. And hindsight is 20/20. I realize that now. That's something I would never ever do again. And because I fought and kept him at stage 4 for so long, now he regressed to 5. But my husband will say now, Darryl, he'll tell you the only 2 people I can count on now is God and my wife, because now the family saw what I was going through. They have abandoned him.
When divorce court continues, has Dana exaggerated her role as Darryl's caretaker?
You're telling me that this man can't survive without you actively managing his health care. And what I'm saying to you is this man was gone for 2 years and he looks fine.
If you would like your case heard on divorce court, call us toll-free at 1-877-311-2222 or log on to our website at divorcecourt.com and follow us on Twitter @DivorceCourt. Divorce Court returns with the case of Dana Harris, who seeks $4,062 from her husband Darryl if he refuses to return home with her. But will Darryl be obligated to repay Dana?
For the last 18 months, I have been sending my husband money 2-3 times a month for a total of that amount. Plus, he asked me, Dana, can I put my PGE bill in your name?
Mr. Carter, what is your relationship with your family? Are you still close to them?
Yes, I have 19 grandchildren.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I have
let me
6
ask you
sisters.
this. Your current medical state, who is assisting you with your care?
My mother will, or
But your family members are doing it.
No, they're not,
Hang
Judge.
on. You're telling me that this man can't survive without you actively managing his health care. And what I'm saying to you is this man was gone for 2 years and he looks fine. I understand that he's in renal failure, but...
Yeah. But can I say something, please, Judge?
What?
Please ask him, and I don't say this to embarrass him. He'll tell you himself. Ask him who's been financially supporting him the last 18 months.
And who's been financially supporting you the last 18 months?
Please.
Mr. Carter?
She sent me money. She has sent me money.
Right.
But
if you want to be free of someone, don't cash their checks. Simple rule.
Okay, but a lot of things she would do before. It's not a check that comes to me. She'll just pay my bill online, pay the telephone, which she got me the telephone, pay the electric bill online, which she just paid that. Dana's a wonderful woman. She just has a control issue with me.
You could stop all that people paying online for you. You set up a thing that they don't have access to your account.
Yes, I can. And that's
so you're living comfortably off of the fact that she does that. You want her to pay the bills, but you don't want her to be. I think she is over controlling. I think she got your hooks into your medical thing, and it's like, this is how I'm going to keep him. This is how I'm gonna manage him and keep him around. But then you're taking money from her at the same time. So you can't just,
I got some good news, though. Can I please share it with you?
Yeah.
It's in conjunction with that letter that you have.
Yes.
Mr. Carter doesn't even know. He said the only reason why he's not coming back to Georgia is because he just got on the transplant list in California. Last week, as God is my witness, I didn't even call him. His hospital transplant people there called in Georgia, and they told me that Darryl has, in fact, been on the kidney transplant list, both Georgia and national, since January 14th of 2009. And they'll accept him back without losing any seniority.
And so, but that's
Thank you.
Wait.
Thank
but that's
you.
with me moving back
you.
to Georgia, right? That's with me moving back to Georgia, right?
Right, but you told me.
You know what?
Okay, I know. I see what's going on here.
He wanted to come.
I see what's happening here. I get it.
Can I say I can explain it? Like,
okay.
I don't want to go. I didn't like Georgia. It might be a rainy night in Georgia, but it'll be a cold day in hell before I go there again.
Okay.
When divorce court continues, Judge Lynn asks Darryl the $1 million question.
Do you love her?
Divorce court returns with the case of Dana Harris and Darryl Carter, who are seeking a divorce after 5 years of marriage.
You want to save this marriage, Ms. Harris. I don't think there's a marriage to be saved.
Okay.
I don't think Mr. Carter's there for it.
Okay.
You want $4,062.
Yeah. If he doesn't want to come back, yes, ma'am. Then I've been...
Explain that amount to me.
That's just a small portion. For the last 18 months, I have been sending my husband money 2-3 times a month for a total of that amount. Plus, he asked me, Dana, can I put my PGE bill in your name, which is the gas electric.
Okay.
I put it in his
Wait.
name. I put it in my name. I paid the deposit. I paid every bill except for one. I just paid one last week so he wouldn't get it cut off. I was not going to have my husband sleeping on the streets of California. There was no family support financially, nothing.
I got it.
There.
Okay.
Mr. Carter,
now,
your response?
In Georgia, everything is in my name. Everything.
It should be. I mean, you know, we're still...
But you don't pay those bills. She pays them.
Thank you. And
I did when I was there.
Yeah, but you haven't been there in 2 years.
And then the barbecue thing, that was me.
Yeah.
That was me.
Judge,
I was
I've got
busting
the
my butt
receipts,
up there.
please, if I may
let me see the
submit
receipt.
this exhibit.
So why don't you tell me why she thinks you should pay all of this money that she has given to you over the last 18 months?
There's no way. Yes, ma'am.
What do you have to say about that?
I can show you even on my cell phone where she had called me and said, okay, your PG&E bill needed to be paid, so I went on and paid it. The bills needed to be paid.
One time since the last August.
You took the initiative on your own self, because that's the way that you have even more control.
Come on, Darryl,
that's another way that you have control.
Okay, I got it.
Then I'll tell you what, I will no longer control him. He can pay his own bills. His family can feed him. They can support him.
Let me.
As of this day.
Oh, and then something else I wanted to say too.
No. Mr. Carter, you don't love her. Do you love her?
I love everybody.
No, don't say that. You know what I'm talking about. Mr. Carter.
I love everybody. You're supposed to love everybody. I am not in love with anyone.
You are not. Okay, fine.
Okay.
I'm going to say this and I'm going to say that, and then we're going to roll.
Okay.
You were just wrong, Mr. Carter. You can't come in here, a grown man, and talk about, I don't know how I got married and I don't know how that got signed. You married that woman. You sat there and you transferred information with her about your belief in God and how you believed in God and how she believed in God and what you needed and wanted to be together. When it didn't turn out to be quite what you wanted, and then she got a little crazy with it, there's no doubt about it. You ran off and you didn't, and now you're taking money from her. What kind of dignity is that? How can you take money from that woman?
I told you.
You called her the crazy lady from misery. She's sane enough to write you a check. That's the only crazy thing you're still doing.
She hasn't written me any checks.
You know what I'm talking about, giving you money. Don't give him anything else. He doesn't love you, and that's okay, because somebody else will. But whatever you do, stay away from him. What you gave him, you gave out of the kindness of your heart and the hope that he would return, so you can't get it back. You know, it was a gift. That's what you did. You can't get it back. But you can get your life back. Yes. Have, gastric bypass, go ahead, lose that weight, get out there, enjoy yourself in Atlanta. There will be no recovery in this matter. It is so ordered.
All right. Parties may leave the courtroom.
We could get counseling. We could have got counseling.
We should have got counseling at the very beginning.
I know, but that's
you didn't
in the past.
You didn't want to do it.
No, we didn't have time. You were 5,000 miles away. We didn't have time. So you forget the past. You make me the #1 in your life besides God. That's the way it's supposed to be. And we could have moved on.